This is the Ohio AgNet from the Voice You Know at the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Veltima Fungicide, the proven #1 for the toughest corn diseases with long-lasting residual, when you need to be confident your fungicide will perform. I'm Ty Higgins. Thanks to the Bell family in Darke County for having me out yesterday for week 3 of Feeding Farmers. Fantastic family and operation out there. You can see the highlights for yourself with a new video online at ohioagnet.com and also on Ohio AgNet TV on YouTube. As farmers look to improve grain marketing returns, one key question remains: does storing grain in the bin actually pay? According to recent analysis, the answer depends on whether market carry and basis improvement can outweigh the cost of storage. For example, with a 7% operating interest rate, it can cost around 2 to nearly 7 cents per bushel per month to store grain, depending on crop value. But experts caution that storage isn't automatically profitable. Without enough carry or basis improvement, holding grain can quickly become a losing proposition. The takeaway? Successful storage decisions come down to math. When the market pays you to store it, it can be a smart move, but when it doesn't, it may be better to sell it and move on. You can read more online now at ohioagnet.com. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me today is Taylor Dill. Taylor is Director of Research for the Ohio Soybean Council. Taylor, we want to take a look today at some research dealing with weed control and the importance of residual herbicides.
So what we found in early planting date and weed control, it was a 2-year-long study. 1 year dicamba was used and the other year 2,4-D was used. Just regulations changed in the middle of the study, so we had to swap. But basically, when we found that we had population loss, so 1 year we had significant population loss from the freeze that we talked about earlier, we had major gaps in the field. And when you have major gaps, you usually have a lot more weeds issues, even if you use a pre, because when you're out in the field early, it usually takes longer for your soybeans to canopy cover. So you're having a longer vegetative growth, longer till we have canopy coverage, which can help reduce some of those weeds germinating. And so in that scenario, what we have found was using 2 posts, and with one of the posts adding a residual to it. So our residual that was used was S-metolachlor, and that was in a particular situation where we planted early and had a lot of population loss. In a scenario where we don't have a ton of population loss and you still have more competition from your plants, the residual or the double post wasn't as necessary. That is one thing that you can keep in your pocket as your season goes, and you can choose at a time where you might need a second post, because I don't want to say to spray if you don't have any weeds in the field, there's no reason to go out there. But using that residual, particularly if you have a lot of weeds from a population loss scenario.
My guest again today is Taylor Dill, Director of Research with the Ohio Soybean Council, and this update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
Thank you, Dusty. Let's check the forecast now with Ryan Martin, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com.
We are seeing a beautiful sunshine to start the day. It is a little chilly again, and I think the air starts to moderate and temperatures start to move up later this afternoon. In that moderating push, I think we have to allow for some spits and sprinkles after midnight tonight, right on through tomorrow morning over the northern half to 2/3 of the state. This is going to prime the atmosphere for another batch of moisture to come through southern, I-70 southward for your Friday afternoon and Saturday morning. So all in, all done, we've got some moisture coming as temperatures moderate. Not everybody gets it on every occasion, but everybody probably sees something before the weekend is done. That's because we have a big amount of moisture coming through on Sunday as well. Between now and the end of Sunday, I'm going to say 0.5 to 1.5 inches across 100% of the Buckeye State. Chilly then to start next week. Rains come back Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
There are a lot of slug management myths out there. Allison Kenny talks about how Ohio State looking to bust them.
Wet spring conditions and a prolonged corn and soybean planting window in 2025 left many Ohio growers dealing with significant slug feeding damage. The apparent increase in slug pressure in recent years is likely tied to multiple factors, including more variable spring rainfall, heavier rain events, and wider adoption of conservation practices such as no-till and cover crops. As season planting conditions progress across the state, here are 4 busted myths regarding regarding slug management. Insecticides are effective against slugs. Slugs are mollusks, not insects, so seed treatment and foliar insecticide applications will not be effective. Cold winters will decrease slug numbers. Cold weather alone does not reliably reduce slug populations. Slugs only feed on the soil surface. Slugs can also feed below ground, damaging germinating seeds and cotyledons before plants emerge. And the best time to scout for slugs is midday. Slugs are nocturnal and feed mostly at night, making them harder to spot during the day. For full detailed list of the busted myths, visit ocj.com. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Allison Kinney reporting.
Thanks, Allison. The national beef herd is at levels we haven't seen in over a generation, and while there is talk about growing the herd, it'll take years for those numbers to see a meaningful bump. In the meantime, dairy operators are trying to help meet that domestic and international demand for beef. Beef on dairy has grown in popularity over recent years to the point where dairy cows make up roughly 15% of the national beef herd. Lawrence Williams, a dairy beef cross specialist with Purina Animal Nutrition, says the cows are a little different when they go to the packer since they've been around humans their entire lives, meaning slightly different management tactics will be needed. But he says the packers want these cows because they grade very well.
So the dairy genetics, if you go back to just Holstein genetics, when there were a lot of Holsteins in the market, those cattle grade. So then put the right kind of beef genetics on that dairy cow, and you've got cattle that'll grade. So the packer wants them. Packer also wants us to improve. There's liver abscesses in these cattle, a higher level than native beef. How do we develop them? How do we grow them? How do we improve their health?
That's where Purina's annual Beef on Dairy report comes in handy for producers, helping them understand trends and where the sector's going. Williams added that since cattle in general are worth so much money right now, beef on dairy is a great revenue stream for any dairy operator.
If you want to de-risk your dairy a little bit, invest in good genetics, get them colostrum, do the right thing, and that will help ensure that these cattle do well at harvest and continue to be an important part of the beef supply. So the dairy supply, I guess I would just ask dairymen to recognize the importance of their contribution to the beef supply.
That's Lawrence Williams with Purina Animal Health. Input prices remain higher. It's been a challenging planting season for many farmers across the Midwest, and there's no end in sight for higher diesel fuel costs. What does that mean for the farmer sentiment across the country? Joe Everett has the details next in today's featured audio on the Ohio AgNet.
Hi, I'm Tyler Miller, a soybean farmer from Crawford County. When I grow soybeans, I'm not just raising a crop, I'm creating fuel at home. Biodiesel adds nearly $2 to our bushel price and strengthens our energy independence. If you're not using biodiesel on your farm, now's the time. If you're not sure how to get it, ask your local fuel supplier. Ready to turn last year's crop into this year's fuel? Learn more at soyohio.org.
This message is brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins. What's the barometer of the American farmer when it comes to the economy? Joe Everett has the details in today's featured audio.
The Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer saw farmer sentiment drop in April. Michael Langmeyer, director of the Purdue Center for Commercial Agriculture, said uncertainty is taking a toll on farmers' optimism.
Farmer sentiment fell in April as concerns about rising input costs, tighter availability, and global uncertainty continued to weigh on the agricultural outlook. The Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer fell from 127 in March to 121 in April, reflecting declines in both current conditions and future expectations. The April decline in the barometer was driven primarily by a drop in producers' views of current conditions, which fell 11 points.
Optimism for the future also declined during April.
Expectations for the future declined modestly, but remains significantly lower than a year ago, down 28 points from April 2025. This shift in sentiment is closely tied to farm-level financial performance expectations. Only 15% of producers reported improved financial conditions compared to the same time last year. Looking ahead, producers are increasingly cautious. 28% of farmers expect their financial performance to worsen over the next 12 months, compared to 25% who expect improvement.
He said the April barometer marked a notable shift toward pessimism and highlights the pressure of the current economic environment.
That uncertainty is also showing up in investment behavior. The Farm Capital Investment Index declined 9 points to 44, its lowest level since October 2024, which of course is before the 2024 presidential election. This index reflects producers' willingness to make large investments such as machinery or buildings. A drop of this magnitude suggests that farmers are choosing to delay or scale back capital purchases, likely in response to tighter margins, increased risk, and certainly tighter cash flow.
High input costs remain a central concern to U.S. producers.
In April, availability concerns increased slightly as well. Layered on top of this is growing global uncertainty, particularly related to the ongoing conflict in Iran, which began earlier this year. This conflict has implications for both fertilizer and energy markets, two key drivers of production cost, particularly for crop producers. Approximately two-thirds of producers expect the conflict to reduce their farm's net income in 2026.
Many farmers also anticipate higher break-even prices for next year. Reporting for the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joe Everett.
Thank you, Joe. We'll get a check of overnight markets and analysis after this as the Ohio AgNet continues.
Bottom of 31, sold them 30,000, Gene.
Get ready to bid on the heavy equipment and vehicles you need in a Ritchie Brothers Midwest Regional Auction happening May 12th. Inventory is housed at Minneapolis, Kansas City, Chicago, Columbus, Detroit, and Lincoln locations. Choose from a wide selection of construction and transportation equipment. Don't miss this opportunity. Visit rbauction.com/Chicago to sign up. Again, that's rbauction.com/Chicago.
Every bushel you grow needs a market. That's why the Ohio Soybean Council is working to expand demand for Ohio soybeans around the world. Your checkoff supports international outreach, trade team visits, and putting Ohio soy in front of global buyers. By showcasing the quality, reliability, and value of Ohio soybeans, you can count on new opportunities and increased demand today and into the future. Visit soyohio.org to see all the ways your Ohio soybean checkoff is at work, expanding markets for your beans.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and this morning's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky. Learn more about marketing your soybeans with LDC by calling 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the midweek session deeply in the red. Let's go to the energy sector first. Crude oil down about $6 to $6.50 a barrel yesterday. Now that was off of its lows, but it pulled everything else down. Let's go to the direct correlation. Crude oil and soybean oil. They've been working hand in hand, and soybean oil has been working sharply higher. Rallies making new highs over the past few days. Big profit-taking day on Wednesday, triple digits down. Most of the pullback in energy was surrounding a potential U.S.-Iran peace accord. Can one be reached? President Trump saying yesterday as the day went on, he was encouraged and growing in confidence that maybe some kind of peace accord with Iran could happen. Now, that doesn't mean the Strait of Hormuz opens relatively soon or not, or if at all, but right now that was fueling the move in the marketplace, at least on the energy side yesterday. Grains followed. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. Let's get a check of overnight markets brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Front month May corn up by a quarter penny at $4.53 a bushel. July $4.67 3/4, down 3/4, and corn for December down a half at $4.89 1/2 in the overnight trade. No change for May soybeans, $11.79 a bushel. July $11.93 3/4, down by a penny, and new crop November beans off a quarter cent at $11.75 1/4. Wheat for July down 2.5 at $6.14 3/4. September $6.30 a bushel, down 2 3/4, and December wheat down 2 1/4 at $6.51 3/4. After yesterday's trade on the livestock side of things, June live cattle up 25 cents at $253.47. August $248.90 up 55 cents. October live cattle a $0.50 higher at $243.72. Feeder cattle for August, 373.05, picking up 75 points. September feeders up 92 at 371.30. And lean hogs for May, 91.70, down $1 and a dime. June down 172 at 99.70. July lean hogs 102.25, down 127. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins. We'll see you down the road.